I'm taking into people's garages and I'm filling your garage up with 7 motorcycles here, 7 motorcycles here, 7 motorcycles here. The last one, the sun's coming up, and this one has gas in it. And I look at my buddy Brian, I said, when we get to the street, I'm gonna start this. And I ride it. As the sun was coming up, I ride it from Lancaster to Quartz Hill, and I show up to my friend's house that morning. I'm talking like 6 a.m., and I wake him up, and I said, this one's yours. I had many court dates that I was going to that I would just be like extension until I finally get busted for a crime, and they just ran everything concurrent, but all for these petty traffic tickets and all that stuff that was going on. I went to court again, and then I remember his exact words when I saw him and I gave him that motorcycle. He wasn't thankful for the motorcycle. He said, "You went and did it without me." I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I went and did it without him.
But you got the fucking motorcycle you wanted.
Dude, yeah. I had those motorcycles for I had street bikes, dirt bikes, 4-wheelers, 2-wheelers. It didn't, you come to my house. I had this house that was out in the middle of nowhere, how I like it. And big pool, swimming pool, bar. It was I had everything there, where I can get so high that I could walk out. Cause I never enjoyed none of that stuff I had. I was running off paranoia, and selling drugs. It wasn't like I love that. I love being on the streets all night, running around like that. That's how I grew up. That's what's addicting. And I love the fighting, the drama, that, selling the drugs all night, the ducking and dodging the law, they thinking I'm smarter than everything else that's going on out there, man, it's, it ends. It all ends, How
did it end?
It just, what happened is that, I'm a mama's boy at heart. I love my mom. My mom, by this time, I do drugs with my mom. I party with my mom. I'm manufacturing methamphetamine, and I'm taking stuff out to different places. I always stop by my mom's house to give her some money and drugs. I go by there. I see that once again, she's still in those abusive relationships. I see her eye on this side. She's not facing me with it. She's in the kitchen. She says everything's fine. She turns around and looks at me. I see her eyes black. The dude comes out. I beat this dude to I beat him I beat him. I strip his shoes. I make him walk down the street, and once again, same old, nothing big, right? And then somehow he goes around, and what happens is he calls the cops on me or something, right? He tells the cops that because you can't be doing that to people, what I did to this guy, and so what can I say? Cops show up at your house, right? I get another case. I'm $1 million bail. I bail out, and by this time I'm losing the house. All this stuff is closing in. They raided my place. They take all this stuff, but they don't take it all, and because I got stuff spread out. And I got to move out of this house. I know I'm going. Just a matter of when. I don't know, but I know when. And it's like this. I was out selling drugs all night. I got me storage units. I got people to help me. I'm putting all my stuff away because I like to be able to save it for when I get out, type thing. And And the house that I was in, you know, it gets raided. People don't like their houses getting raided and all this stuff. And the homeowners don't like me. And I don't like the homeowners too. You know, why? Fuck you guys. And this lady's there that owns this house. And I call my mom in the morning. I got the storage unit. By this time, I got like 3 trucks, 2 cars, you know, 20 motorcycles. This is after, you know, I'm out on $1 million bail. I'm fucking, you know, I need to put all my stuff in the storage, you know, and I'm on my street bike. I'm out running the streets on my street bike, doing what I do best. It's early in the morning. I tell my mom's like, that girl's here at the house that you don't like, because I have to be out of that house. But not today, like I know. But that girl's there that makes me mad. And I go there and I tell my mom, here's a storage unit, take this truck and go. They sort of put my trucks on the other side of the house. They're loaded up, but what I have inside my room there is I got me a big trunk, and it's full of a flask and iodine crystals and a rocker and a heat pad and all this stuff for making methamphetamine. I must have like I was a collector of swap meet blankets. You know those blankets that have like a horse and elephants and all these things on them. I have like maybe 10 of those, right? But I go to this house. My mom takes my one dog. I have my other. I walk down there. I park my bike on the other side. I had a fanny pack because, you know, that you strap onto the bike. That way, if I'm getting chased by the cops, I could easily just throw it somewhere and come back to it, you know. And I walk down there, and this lady's like, "You're not supposed to be here." Blah blah. She hated me. I hated her. And I kicked that fucking door. It was all glass. I kicked it open. Right. I grabbed her. I threw her outside. I said, "You're not supposed to be here." She ran. She calls the cops. Right. I don't care. I go to my room. I grab that trunk because that trunk is my money maker. It's everything to me. I drag it outside. I have a side that, you know, Bill Master, a pool in the backyard, all glass back. It's you know, and I drag this trunk out. I bury it with all these blankets, and I'm sitting there with my dog, and I'm thinking, you know, cool, you know, all right, nothing. A cop car pulls up. I walk outside because I have the right to be there. She's not supposed to be there. I have the right. And she was scared that my dog was going to attack her, and it probably would have. But so now the cops pull up in the driveway, just one cop car. They draw their guns. I walk up. I 100% think I'm in the right. Like this is my house. I'm here legitly. She's trespassing. They draw down on me, and they draw down on my dog. And I'm holding my dog, and I'm like, they're like, you know, I'm like, protect my dog is like the world. I don't care about a lot of things, but this dog I do. And made a long story short, they put me in back of the cop car, and they put the dog in the back of the cop car with me. And I'm $1 million bail, but I ain't supposed to be nothing.
Yeah, you're supposed to be doing anything. Off the prison I go. Off the prison, all that stuff that was there, the street bikes. I'm once again, I'm making some like. There's people there meeting me. I had lots of people, you know, lots of people love, you know, people are meeting me there and you know, to help me orchestrate this whole thing and stuff like that. I remember I made this one phone call to a friend of mine and that I trusted. And I said, I don't know when I'm gonna be out. I don't know. I don't know. I said, but I need you to go to my house, grab my street bike that's on the street, you know, grab that trunk that is in the backyard and buried in those blankets and just put it away. And he grabbed a couple of my motorcycles, he grabbed that trunk, and he grabbed a couple bags of those blankets, you know, and he put them up at his house, and he put that trunk away. And it was there when I got out. And what was in that trunk was just drugs. And by this time I get out of prison, and now I'm like, since I was dealing drugs and all that stuff, now I'm out to, because everybody that owed me money, and now it's time for me to collect. So, you know. How long were you in prison for?
I was only in there for 3 years, you know, 3 years, it wasn't long. 3 years it was like pretty much my first real prison term. I'm on a 4 yard, 180, 270 yard. I have now.
What does that mean to people?
That just means my points are really high, and that I'm cell living. My points are really high, and that it's this more solitary confinement than anything.
So you're pretty much 23 hours locked up, 1 hour yard time.
1 hour, yeah, not even that. 23 and a half hours locked up, 30-minute showers. And so, and that's for you, and the yard time you get every other day, which is an hour, and it's either 4:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning till 5 a.m. like early before the sun comes up, or and then you get one in the afternoon maybe, and that's but see, the thing is that I didn't mind it. I mean, I'm cool with it.
You were already kind of indoctrinated into a little bit of that world because of the Peckerwood you ran with. So
yeah.
And the Clout. Yeah. So you didn't come in there like some new guy on the block.
No.
New kid on the block, man. No. You already have a name and a reputation.
My name is already passed around. And now, and I'm big and strong, and everything like this. And I come in there, and now I'm just meeting I'm meeting guys in different areas, like, Norwalk or San Pedro and San Fernando Valley. I'm from Antelope Valley. So now it's just sort of like expanding this circle of stuff. But I'm going to tell you that, and then now I'm getting out. Now I must have went in probably at 190 pounds or something like that, or I must have gained 100. Like I get out, I'm fucking humongous. I'm humongous, and I'm out, and now I'm muscle. I've been working out. I'm eating on a regular basis, sleeping on a regular basis, right? And I'm working out, and so now I just come out and and there's no mirror. Like I don't. The only mirrors you got is a reflection in a 5x5 window in your cell at a certain early in the morning or at night. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the mirrors you got. You know what I'm saying? Or you got this little blur spot above your sink that you have, right? Like or on your cell door, like like if it wasn't the chicken wire bars, it was they have like a little window on it. You know what I'm saying? That's the only mirror reflection you got. But I'll tell you this, I got out, and this goes, man, and I go right back. You know why? Because I'm addicted to that lifestyle. I'm immediately onto the drugs. I don't last from that point forward for the next 13 years. I don't. My life is I live in prison and I come visit the streets. I live in prison and I come visit the streets because I don't know how to, my mind and my thinking and my head and everything I'm doing, I don't know nothing else but how to sell drugs, right? How to chop up cars, how to manipulate, steal, beat up people like that. This is my whole, I don't know nothing. I don't know how to live. I get out from that term. I have a daughter. I don't know how to be a dad. I don't know nothing. My lifestyle is the streets, and it's like that until I'm 33. And I get out, and you didn't think the motorcycle thing was good. Now I get out, and I've been selling to a guy. Like this guy owes me money. He owns a car lot, right? He owns a used car lot. So what do? I take every car off his lot, right?
So you got out, you started bill collecting. You're like, hey,
I'm bill collecting.
IRS is knocking on the door, man. I'm collecting the taxes.
No, because I felt it as disrespect. Like if I was locked up and you didn't give me like a letter or some kind of there's still people out there you talk to, but like if I didn't get some courtesy letter or something like that, then you owe me. And so I get out, and there's I'm talking I'm showing up to partners of my houses, telling them to call so-and-so over, and I'm putting plastic on the ground. And they're like, what are you doing? Because it's going to be messy either way, right? I'm not, I'm so-and-so, or now I had some stuff. Say I had all those motorcycles and his trucks, and then you have a partner of yours that thinks that all that stuff, he's and they take their stuff thinking they're looking out for you type thing. So now I'm getting with this partner, and I'm like, hey, and I'm telling another older partner of mine, now I'm at the age of when I met these guys and I started hanging out with them. Now I'm that age. Now I'm in my early 20s. Now I'm like, I'm just how they were ruthless and beating up people and going around and having a little youngster with them. I'm that guy now, right? No, I'm that guy, Now I figure that I don't have a license or nothing like that, but I figure that if I have a nice enough car, I'm not going to get pulled over, So, and how do I get that? I immediately women. I met that guy in the car lot, owned the car lot. And my motto was I can buy any and everything with drugs. That's just, and I lived for that. That was like, that's what piqued me. That's what I like. Ooh, this felt so good knowing that I could do it like this, And but I suffer,
Right.
And yeah, I cleaned out a car lot as well. I went.
So the guy owed you money.
The guy owed me money, and he played the game, and he was ignoring me bad. And there's a couple guys. One guy, a friend of mine that he took one of my motorcycles and and stuff. I got at a couple of my older homeboys, like foul, disrespectful them, any part of them anything that was attached to them, I disrespected that too. And bloodbaths at people's houses that I probably shouldn't have done, but people are scared of me. I don't even know how scary I am or how demanding or how much of a presence I got. But I'm 280 pounds. I'm as big as a doorway, right? Like you ain't really telling me. Like if I want to do something, you really ain't telling me much, right? And I'm laying plastic down at people's houses. I'm telling you to call, and your wife and your kids and their places are at these houses, And I'm getting people right there as soon as they walk in the door, And I'm not thinking about the repercussions of the damage I'm doing to these people, And this is still early, and that guy for that the car lot, he owed me money and was slow dragging it, and I just went, I tried to sell to people who had stuff, businesses, jobs, nothing, not people, like you give your drugs away on the streets to people who, but a lot of, you're trying to supply people that, you're working class people that they're out there, right? Shit, that car lot, man, it must have been like 27 cars in one night. I planned it all out, to where I had a key. I made a key for it. I went and walked the lot and knew exactly. And this is what it was. I popped open there were like mechanic garage in the back, and there was this Eleanor Mustang, like gone in 60 seconds, but it was white, wasn't gray, right? And I was stuck trying to start this thing for probably way longer. It must have been 30 minutes. It took me a minute to get inside of it. And I took their tow truck. I took everything. I left a couple of their vans. The vans, like I just took the wheels off and left them on the ground right there on the lot. Right.
How much did this guy owe you?
I forget. It closed over $5,000. I don't know, but it was in the thousands range. I'd done the same amount. I'd done damage to people who owed me $5. I go and clean your house out for $5. That's just how. As my disease got worse, and the lifestyle I'm not living, I'm no longer now. See, I go to a point where I'm not selling drugs anymore. I'm doing drugs now. Now I'm doing drugs. Now I'll come to a point where, like, after a couple prison terms and having a kid, and now I'm just like, and as much as I'm just trying to survive, I still have like clientele, people that sell it. Once a drug dealer, you always know these people, But the thing is that I'm doing them. I'm really doing them, and I'm getting worse and worse and worse, and my life is slowly but surely. I'm short-lived out there on the streets, month, 45 days. Back to another violation. I got busted with whip-ins, and they dropped they dropped my manufacturing to intent to manufacture. They got me with the arsenal. They got me with the chop shop. You know what I'm saying? Like they so those are that's my main thing. So the parole officers I'd be in the wrong place. I'd be at a place and getting loaded or getting people high, the cops would come, they'd find a knife or something inside that area, I'm gone for a year. It doesn't matter. I'm gone. Garet, you're a flat violation. You're a flat violation. You're a flat violation, right? Catch another term. A partner of mine gets out, boom, another term, another violation, another term. And that's the life I lived in. And for that, so every time I'm getting out now, I don't use or drink or when I'm in prison. I keep this statue up in there that to be an example of prison, of like, I gotta be ready so I don't have to get ready. Because you don't know, like I've been in fear for my life in situations in jail and in prisons and with riots and like, and all this stuff that went on that I don't want to be caught slipping inside there,
Yeah, and people who are using drugs are the ones that get caught slipping.
And people using drugs get caught. You're sleeping on the job, buddy.
So,
but it was my goal.
Why were you in fear for your life in prison?
Well, I get a kite from the back.
What's a kite?
A kite is a letter from people above me, telling me what's going. A riot's going. You need to ride over this situation. And I've been on a yard and I know that at 4:00 I'd unlock in building 5 it's going to start, and I know that by the time it hits that I'll be in the chow hall at that time, right? I'm in building 1. There's building 5. Building 5, it comes out where you got 5, going to and I just know that when I'm in the chow hall that night, that I have to get off for whatever reason, that disrespect somewhere down the line, some drug deal went bad down the line, whatever, some purpose that some point we're trying to state inside the prison system that we're fighting, and I know that the weapons, I can get shot from a tower, like when you're fighting until you're fighting until the gun crack. Like I still to this day, that 302 round that they use and that rifle and how they cock it and chamber it twice a day. Like it never dies. Like I can always remember that sound of that bullet loading and loading, and when they're fired, like I watch guys die because we're fighting, and then a guy gets shot and you lay down and then it be back up and they shoot it, and I watch guys. I was in the chow hall. It's a 270, so it's a smaller chow hall that you walk in, you sit down, you eat fast, and you go, and it goes off, right? And I'm on a table, and it's happening right 2 tables over in the tower, and I just watch him shoot a guy right there. Boom, shoots him, and we're on the ground, and I just hear, back up. You have to get back up. You got to fight, until they come in, spray us, mask us, zip tie us out. And this is the thing, something like that happens. I'm one of the first people that they remove me. They remove me, Garet. They find, whether I'm on a yard and a fight happens, or I'm in a building, or I'm out, or wherever it's at. They come to for who I am when I'm on that yard. I'm just another politician, right? And they come, they remove me, they put me in a dog kennel, they spray me, zip tie me, put me in dog kennels. I got to sit there. They spray me off. With the garden hose, knowing that that's worse after and you're sitting there and you're just burning, and they're like, what? And what happened? One of you officers disrespected an inmate, and we're just trying to prove a point, or for whatever reasons you don't say shit. You just sit there and be like, nothing. Just something escalated.
So you had a pretty high status in the prison system.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah, bigger guy. I just put it this way: I had a status. That's all there was to it. Yeah. Shot calling, whatever it was. I had a right man, and like I ain't gonna lie. Like I lived good in prisons. I didn't. It wasn't, besides the suffering of the isolation and the fightings and I made some bad calls and judgments on stuff that on information I got, but I lived well. inside prison. And I was away from the streets. I thrived. I worked out. You know, it was bad for a lot of people.
Did you take advantage of a lot of people who were coming in there new to the prison system and be like,
I was more of a protector of those guys who came in like that, new, because I heard about that. I saw that these guys coming in. Like my first term, I'm in reception. My very first time, and my very first time ever. I'm in a big yard. I'm in prison, and I'm in a corner, and they put me in there with this guy, because this is like you go to a spot, and then from there you get dispensed to where you belong, right? And they put me in the cell with this guy, and he's a normie, man. He's just some guy who lived out there in Los Angeles. Somebody broke in his garage. He went after the guy with the bat, hit him in the head, right? Killed him. Right now he's facing murder, and this guy was just protecting what was his. And this guy was he's just there, he lived in full acceptance of what he did, right? He did. After probably 3 weeks I finally, once again, I arrived at the yard. Homeboy saw me. Boom, they blessed me with some tobacco. This guy all of a sudden, he never said a word, man. Really just sit there and just read books. I read books, quiet, no conversation. It's like talking to somebody. But I told him one day, I was like, hey man, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. And he looked at me and he's like, you got tobacco? Yeah. You want to smoke? And it was the first time we had a cup of Folgers, right? And a cigarette in prison. And this guy told me, and after that he opened up. You know, after a while you can either live miserably and close yourself off, but this guy was in full acceptance of what he did. And just as for everything that I did or did not do, but everything that I got caught, but I was in full acceptance. So I wasn't there denying that I drove the wrong way, or like I fucking stayed up too many fucking days, right? And I got busted once again. Everything catches up. Everything would just catch up sooner or later. And that guy, man, that tobacco, that cigarette and stuff. But he was a normie, man. Like he went on, he didn't have life, but he had pretty much all day for hitting that guy. You know, I don't know his name, but he was just some normal guy, man. It's full of people like that. You know, whatever happens in the judicial system, that you pay for your mistakes, and you can either live in acceptance of that or in denial of that.
Did you kind of take him underneath your wing a little bit, because how you probably came into this system and
this reception area that I was in, I of course, you know, of who I was, like once people knew, like once a older homeboy or some words got around, or someone saw me that knew me, because I hung out with people in prison and out. So like once Garet was like noticed and I stick out, I immediately, boom, I go, you know, go with the higher ups. You know, I immediately getting slammed down, or I'm going somewhere, and the thing is once I was on a yard and guys like that will come in, and I see how, and the thing is because I see there's other gangs there, you know, P9s and riders and stuff like that. And I really, it's, you know, comrades, and they take advantage, and I watch them take advantage, or I don't like the whites taking advantage of the whites, because we're a group thing. And so I sort of want to, if you're in my range there, that I sort of try to look at how to look at, I couldn't, this is the thing. I've been, you know, like say something happened, right? And say that you're a fucking straight asshole to this white guy. Say this white guy comes in, or a couple guys come in and you're blocked or whatever like that, and they're just some normal, they done some crime and got caught, and they're facing, you know, they're facing some time, and you're addicted. Say you just fucking, you're stripping them of all their shit, you're making them fucking, you're just a straight asshole. And then say one day though, you're out there and you're walking and you're in the day room now, and they're watching movies, and a fight breaks out. I want those guys willingly, not feeling because Because when you show somebody that respect and that love and that loyalty when they're on the yard and stuff like that, you're damn right. When something happened, these guys that you would think that have no fight in them, or because you see these guys that are all blasted back and they look the part. But I see these guys that a couple guys that maybe just have some letters on them that they earned, or maybe some bolts under their arm, or something like that, Swazi on their thigh or something like that. But these guys, I put those tattoos on them because they earned them inside it. But those guys always have I never had a question. Like if something's going to happen, if they're going to jump, because like if a guy was a dick to you or something like that, like you're not going to be the one you're not going to jump, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh,
well, let him get his ass kicked.
Fuck, I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I didn't see it was you. I'm sorry, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You treat him with respect, and guess what? Pops off.
Because that motherfucker. Yeah, that guy wants you off the yard. That guy, your own people, my own people didn't want me to leave. Like if I got it, everybody got it. And I show that love and respect to all, and I got that love and respect to all, and that's just how I carried myself inside there. So,
what was your longest stint in prison?
Only 3 years, man. Only 3 years.
At the beginning.
Yeah, there's that very beginning, that 3 years, and after that, bro, it was nothing. It always was like 3 year flat. 3 years, you're flat, 16 months, it was nothing. But the thing is I'm back to back, like for the next, 13 years from that time, from 22, right? I get out, 23, I get out, I have a kid. From that point forward, I don't stop. I don't stop for, 11 years. I'm in. I'm out. One time I'm out for 2 weeks. One time, the longest I was out was 5.5 months, and that was it. And that was it. I paroled in like 2008 summertime, and I was busted. 5 months later, man, I was busted, and I'm talking like I was fucking. Done. Like I was out there and the cops were hitting I was trying to live a double life. I was trying to have a job. I was deep down inside me, I wanted to do right. I'm getting tired of the lifestyle I was living. I got a daughter who just like how it blocked me from spending time with my disease and my addiction, and it stopped me from having that relationship with my dad and my sisters and everybody who loved me, because it stopped me. The same thing as doing for my daughter at this point. I don't want to be around her because I'm using and I'm high. Like, I'm taking my daughter around early, when she was a baby, drug dealing with, she's waiting in the car while I'm running inside. Like that's
just like the guy who took you around who was drug dealing.
Same thing. Same exact. That's all I know, right? Here, I take her to a store. Whatever you want.
Where was her mom at?
Her mom's into this just like me, man. Gotcha. Her mom, I give her mom mad props. You know why? Because her mom, she did what she had to do as a mother to support her and her brother. She had another, and I tried like I do, but like she had to let me go. Like sure. I can't, because I don't want to be around you. Like I'm, once again, I have that barrier. Like I have, and what it makes me emotionless. Makes me like, it's really hard to get past this force, this whatever is, that love. And like, I can give it like to my brotherly love and then the system, like, I would have some heart to heart talks with 25 white guys that telling them like, hey, one of us might die. I can get emotional and then it's talking to the brotherhood of my inner circle in my block or something like that. Or with another guy that I'm like, look, when we step outside these doors tomorrow, like, I don't know what's going to happen, or if we're going to both make it back, I just know that, but for me to have these deep conversations and be intimate like that with like a father or mother or with, daughter, girlfriend, to this day, it affects me. That's still something to this day that I'm working through. Like I'm still
it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. It's a continued everyday process to keep working through that. But
100%.
you said something inside you changed, man. Something inside you was like, man, I need to change. What was that? What was that moment?
That moment, even though I had that moment, like I remember sitting down, I'm growing up. I know I'm becoming a man inside the California State prison system, and I'm doing time. I'm hanging out with the fellas, but like after a while, after 10 years of doing all that, and maybe you're watching maybe a close friend of yours is a few riots, whatever, but you get tired, man. Just like maybe you just, like deep down, I was tired, but I wasn't tired enough to stop doing it, because now the drugs got a hold of me. Now I don't know how to get out of prison. Like I try to get a job. Like I get a job. I work it. I'd run into people that I always would run into people who I shared that lifestyle with, and sooner or later I always be right back in that lifestyle. And once I go back in that lifestyle, all bets are off. Like, I'm not living that, and
yeah, you're not showing up to work on Monday.
I'm not sure. No, I'm calling you with excuses every time. Like, and not only that, dude, like I'm not a workable guy. I don't, I'm still like, I got a car, but I got no license. Like I can't get, I have only ID I got is a prison ID. I only got an address that I'm, for parole, type thing, but I'm not there. And because I put a taste of drugs inside of me, and it takes me, man. And where does that takes me? It takes me out to the darkest and dirtiest parts of the streets and the desert that a guy can go. Because what I want to do is I want to isolate myself from anything that, or anybody who loves me or shows or that shows compassion for me. And I want to go out, and I want to use, and I want to drink, and I want to live a life far from the one I should be living.
So
maybe
when did
the pain. Go ahead.
When did that change? Did that change happen in prison?
That change.
I'm done.
I think it must have been later on, and it was almost at the end. And I just was undefeated. Like by this time, like a lot has 10 years in the system, and you're getting out now, and lots of stuff's changed. Lots of people are gone now. It's a whole different. Now it's not methamphetamine is a thing, but now times it's heroin. I started dabbing in that, right? I had a thing I wanted to make it to a minimum yard in prison because I wanted to sell drugs inside prison. I did. My points dropped after violation years and stuff. I get a new term for a GTA, right? Another stolen car thing. I end up on a minimum yard, and my whole plan, it was like a thing that been brewing in me. My whole thing is I want to sell drugs in the prison system, and I do it. I succeed, and I'm doing drops inside of a prison system, bringing drugs in, and this is what it helps. I always told myself that I'll never put a needle in my arm. I always thought that's bad, right? That I justified me smoking and using and everything like that as what it was, even though I still stay up for fucking God knows how 20 days at the most sometimes, and but I'm in prison, and I have needles and everything dropped because a good friend of mine that a crimey shows up on the yard I'm at. I'm doing these drops. I'm gonna lace these guys up, while they're in prison. And I was in prison, and in my cell, and for me to have a good amount of drugs come into prison you never feel so like, I don't know if it's frightening or scared or what it was, but that emotion that you're really like that, it seems like the amount that you have looks triple the size of what it is,
Well, it's so because the amount that what you have to go through to even just to get it in. You're not on the street, Pat.
If you, the name of the game is, you watch
and you sit there and observe, and everything in a prison system is really structured. They always change the structure and the program. They're always trying to, for people like me who pay attention, write it down, and to, you know, what time you walk, what cops work, what days, what days they're doing. You get all this down, and it makes it very easy. And
so how do you get stuff in the system? Do you just manipulate a cop?
Yeah. But the only thing that they would ever do is tobacco for COs. They would bring. I had one that bring me lots of tobacco at one time, and then I had some friends of mine, some girls I knew, bring drugs in, drop it off in the trash can out on the outside. And at the end, I just had guys that, like I said, those weaker guys in the prison system that really want to prove a point, that really wanted to please me for who I am, they would do anything for me. So if I told them I want you to jump over this fence and run to the street and grab 2 duffel bags and run back, you got, 30 minutes. Can you do it? They'd be like, yeah. And I would have a guy, and I would have pedestrian clothes, and I have the whole thing mapped out. The whole thing. They literally would jump out. He would jump out the prison, run to the street and grab the bags and throw the bags over, and I create a whole, the whole thing, orchestrated a whole thing. Not one time, not 2 times, not 3 times, but multiple times. And until that guy got, and I might tell you, I never really thought about how I must feel for a guy, just some young kid or whatever in prison, probably for his first time on his first little 16 month with half rodeo. And he's really trying to prove something to me because he really wants to be that guy in his neighborhood, and how scary that must have been for him to jump that fence, land on the ground and be like, fuck, he just escaped. Right. I remember him throwing those bags over and literally yard recall. And like, I'm looking at him outside the fence, and I'm looking at the COs walk this yard, and it's closing time. And I'm big, and literally, like I made a wall. I'm big. I had to make a wall so they wouldn't see him come back. And
wow.
And I'm looking to my left as this guy screams in the door, and I'm talking like and I got away with it, and I did that, and this is what happens when I'm on that minimum yard. And by this time I've been around lots of people who slammed dope and done drugs, and I've been missing back and forth with heroin as well, and pills and doing all this stuff. And this guy takes a hit, and by this time I'm in a work detail job on I can't get a gate pass and nothing like that. I'm a close 19, and guys are coming to check, it's all orchestrated, right? My right hand tells me good, everything's good. Guys are walking to chow, everything's a go. But the guy takes a hit of my pipe, and I remember him breaking it off that first hit. And my only option was to put a needle on my arm. I looked at my friend that's his thing, and I said, hey, let me go first on this. Dude, they look, Garet, you don't. Today I do. From that point forward, I don't know what's changed for me, but that's in, I think that must have been in 2010, and in prison. And I put a needle on my arm, not once, but for a minute. And I thought I'd be good. I thought I'd be able to leave that there inside prison. I'm just going to do, just going to do it inside prison. And I get out, and sooner or later, the guy that I was in there with, that I'm good right now. I'm good. Like I've been out, I don't know, a month or something, and then that guy that I paroled on a hold that time. I went from prison, I went back to county, and that's always the worst. And I got out time later, but that guy that assisted me putting a needle in my arm. And the thing is I've been shooting people up. My whole life, I just never stuck one in my arm myself. And he gets a hold of me when I gave him And if anybody's done times, we get these hard times mugs. And I had a hard times mug with the ink. It was all picked, you know, probably with the tattoos I would have got on me if I was, you know, if I had tattoos. And he gets a hold of me through a third party, and I go to his house, and at that point I put a needle on my arm, and I never stopped for the next few years. And it took me to a deeper level of understanding of the drugs, and it took me there faster every single time. And now anything now I don't even care about the lifestyle no more. I care about putting a needle on my arm. And then now I'm homeless. I'm on the streets. I'm living, you know, I'm shot calling at these fucking abandoned houses with fucking, you know, like I'm living a life. I'm a nobody, dude. By this time I'm used and abused, and I'm just another addict with track marks all throughout my arm. And I'm just living. All I want to do is just put a needle on my arm. And that's that changing point for me. That's when I'm out there on the streets, and as I'm walking up Sierra Highway in the middle, and nobody really wants to be around me no more. Or maybe it's just I just don't want to be around nobody no more, right? And you look at when I look at myself in the mirror, I'm disgusted. When you know, it was like I broke something in me that I didn't want. Like I always told myself, like I that one boundary I had with myself, I went beyond it. That's drugs. That's what drugs and alcohol. That's what this lifestyle does. It's like where I think I'm strong. Like if I ever go this far, if I ever I was good because I never done this. And not only that, dude, is that the heroin's really big. And now I'm shooting. I'm not just putting meth in my arm. I'm putting heroin and meth in my arm, full pulls, and I'm out there on the streets terrorized. I'm still, you know, when I can, I'm a mess, man. I'm still holding these grudges to guys that owed me money from back in the day. Now I'm seeing them, you know, I'm checking them on site, you know, type stuff, and I'm still being, you know, and but I also think too that when I started putting that needle and stuff in my arm, it made me really weaker. And it really made me, because it was like every time I saw it, it took this fight out of me that I had in me before. And like I said, I'm a full-fledged addict, dude. Like I couldn't, like I sell my body. Whatever I had to do to get drugs to put in my system is no different than from a female. I lived in those places that you see on the streets that you're like, fuck that. Like,
you literally sold your body for drugs?
I mean, not in a way, but like, I felt like it. Like I would just, like, if a girl had drugs and I could go and she would give me some, there's no difference. That's selling my body for drugs, right? Yeah. That's no different than a girl in the same position. Like girls sell drugs too. And if a girl seen me and I like, look, like if I could sexual favor you for, like, let's do it. You know, like, sure. Give me some drugs. I just want drugs, right? And support my habit. You can only support your habit so much before you owe everybody money. You know, like if people were, your name is good. Oh, Garet, your name is good, and all this stuff. Because, you know, but like my name's not good. I'm a fucking, like, dude. I want you to give me as much as possible. I'm a lie, manipulate, cheat, steal, whatever I have to owe you. I'll owe you whatever. Fuck, you want my. Next time I see you, I'll give you because I just want to get loaded, man. Because I got this thing inside me that wants drugs, that is feed me, whether it's my head, the things going on in my head, and you know, and the battlefield in here, like the all the stuff that you've done wrong all your life. Now it's like it's coming, but like, man, when I shoot myself with heroin and meth, man, and I'm isolated in a bathroom in an AM PM on the floor, butt naked, doing my laundry inside of, like, it's my prison cell, and I'm able to in a bathroom, you know, and I'm able, for that second, I get this rush, and it just, everything's down, you know.
What? Wow, man. So when do you get clean, man? What happens that makes you get clean? Hey, Cat Badasses, our Patreon is live and accepting memberships right now. And for only $3 a month, you get some cool benefits with it. Chance to win Red, White, and Badass Brews coffee every month and exclusive content, just to name a few. So go to the link, go to our Patreon account, and become a Cab Badass member.
Like I said, deep down inside, I mean, I'm dying, and I don't even know it, and I get busted. No, nothing different, man. I get busted one more time, and for one time, I get picked up on a violation, and like early in my when I started doing time and all that stuff, I didn't want no program. I knew that, like, that street and the drugs, that was my life. I wasn't trying to get out of it. Like I was dedicated my life to it. And I get picked up one night at 2:00. Once again, I get picked up. No different than I get picked up because I'm out rolling the streets in some girl's car at 2:30 in the morning with a lot of drugs on me, and I get picked up, and they bust me, and I go in front of a parole board, and they say, hey, they said, you got for drug, I'm a drug addict, and they put me in a program. Full evidence and full defeat. I admitted, that I had a drug problem. I go into a program. I'm not saying that the first program I went to worked. Got sent to a program, but sure in the hell it was a lot better than jail and prison. And it planted a seed in me. And I left that place. And I had a lot of baggage. I had a lot of tickets, I had a lot of shit that was, I got out of prison, but I still had I had to go back into county jail. And they gave me I go to a treatment facility. I'm there for 6 months. I complete this program. I go into, I have a lot of traffic tickets. I go to court for these traffic tickets. They max me out in county time, 5 consecutive years or 3, I don't know. And then 3 consecutive years after that, if I ever come back for anything. And I felt it when I walked into that court. I never walk into a courthouse. First of all, I never walked to the front into a courthouse for anything. Catch me, right? I walked in, and not only that this is the first time ever I walked to a courthouse on traffic tickets that like I said, I had 168 traffic tickets at this point, maybe more. I printed. I have a stack this high of paper. I printed it all out, living proof, right? I like to look at it so I know. But this is what happens. A guy like me walks in the courthouse like that, and the judge knows me because I've been in there, they know me, my name, same old name, but I walk in there, I'm clean and sober for the first time ever. I just saw a friend of mine in the parking lot that I used and everything with, and he was like, offering me drugs. I was like, nah, I'm good, right? And just put some money on my books if you can. And I walk in there and they say things like, I'm like, look, man, I got proof that I've been in this program, and I've been there 5 months. I'm doing 12-step program. I met the mayor. I did some volunteer work for that city, all this stuff, I got letters to prove it, and they disregard all those letters. He looks at me and he says, Garet, guys like you never change. You're a threat to society. You're a menace to society, and at any chance I get, I'll make sure you get locked up. And I walked. They reprimand me. They walk up to me, take the paper, fucking trash it, right? That walk I have from that inside that courtroom. I walk from that courtroom. I walk into the back to this holding tank. And I've been in that holding tank many times. No different than any other holding tank. I've been in holding tanks. And I'm sitting there in that holding tank by myself, waiting to go downstairs. And I tell you, man, I was fucking done, dude. Like that's when Garet was like, damn, I'm tired of this cycle I'm going through. Like I'm able to see it. I'm able to see it. I've been this 5 months of sobriety that I had. Like I'm able to see this cycle, and I go in and I go, the first time ever I go into county jail. I'm not trying to take a couple of hits off weed in the county or drink. I don't drink Pruno. I mean, I have, but I'm not a guy. I read this book, AA book or NA book or whatever on my rack during the counts, and I'm not trying to call shots. I'm just trying to sit back and do some time. And they called me one night for a release. I mean, this release happens to be for a work furlough program at they're come here, cut your time in half, go work at this your city sheriff station, right? And I did. I got out. I did that, and I'll tell you that when I got out of jail, I called my mom. It's where all us gangsters go. If you have a mom lucky enough, I call my mom. She gives me her address. She lets me stay there in this motorhome I have left. So whatever, right? But see, a person like me gets out like that, and instead of going, I last on the streets 4 days. I make it one day. I make it to the program, and I get loaded. As soon as I got out, I got loaded. I made it the first day. The second day I late. The third day they're kicking me out. The fourth day I'm in a house. The house gets raided. A cop stabs himself with a syringe of mine that I lost in my backpack that I've been lugging around. And at this time, I'm just trying to get some sleep. And I'm gonna tell you, by the seventh day, right? Now I'm facing 3, 3, and 2 plus the crime committed, assault on an officer. It's like, looking at 15 years, something like that, for a cop stabbing himself with a syringe that was lost in my backpack that I forgot about. Cops are doing the good cop, bad cop, slamming. One cop slamming me and beating the shit out of me. The other one's saying, what? No, same old shit. And I go back to the county. 7 days later, 7 days. 7 days. I'm right back, a couple blocks down over there in the county jail. 7 days. I'm right back to where I just left. And the guys that I just left are looking at me like, "What happened?" That's what happens when drugs happen. That's exactly what happened for me. Is I got loaded, and this is my end, man. Like I get let out of county jail again. I'm ripping and roaring. I don't give no regards to life or anything I have left in it. If I could disown myself from my family, my friends, and everything, and meet all new people, I'm dedicated to slamming heroin and meth on the streets for the next 45 days. Valentine's Day of 2012. I've been out for about 40 something days. I got multiple places I live in, because a person like me has to have multiple places living the life I was, I crashing and shit and stuff. And this stuff happens. I get shot at. I meet this guy that we're beefing, on the streets. Our streets rule is like, hey, I'll catch you on traffic, or I'll catch you on the streets. It's cool. Like, we can wolf on the phone. I don't wolf on the phone. Like, when I see you, you know what time it is. It just so happens that I see this guy, and altercations happen, and I end up having to walk because this guy was supposed to give me a ride somewhere, and the next thing I know, I'm getting shot out early in the morning on Valentine's Day morning. And by Valentine's Day night, I go, like I said, I loaded with my mom. I call my mom up, get loaded on Valentine's Day, and on that night, I get arrested one more time. I go to the county jail. They offer me a program again because I just graduated the last program. I arrived at a program on March 17, 2013. And I wasn't sure. I still was unsure of you break so many promises to yourself, and you degrade yourself like I did. Like you really don't know. Like you're afraid. Like I'm scared to ask God for help. I feel like I'm all alone in this world. I don't want to even if it's not a yes, no on the dot about something that's right here in the present. Like I don't want to, because I feel like I'm tired of disappointing people. But a friend of mine that I know from the streets, one of those guys I was telling you about that I knew from the system, that he's all blasted back now, but I knew him on the streets. I knew him in prison. For me, he's like one of my little rockets or missiles, whatever you want to call him, and he walks through these double doors at this treatment center, and he sees me, and he walks over to me, and he gives me this big old hug, and he says, "Man," he's like, "Big bro, so good to see you, man." He's like, I hope you stay. And he tells me I got 9 months. And I'm like, fucking damn. 9 months is like a lot. And I walk inside. I walk inside that office, and I fully commit. I said, I'm gonna stay. And from that point forward, I stayed, and I've done, I done turned my life into something that I have a life today. I have a life today.
So really, that changing moment was seeing somebody that you served time with, and was like, this is kind of a turning point in my life. Like, damn, dude, if you can do it, I can do it. Yeah,
the fight inside me was finally, the fight inside me. There was no fight inside me. The thing was is that meeting that guy that was there and having him to be the example that I needed, even though he didn't stay, that having somebody that you're familiar there with as a trust, somebody that was a big part of it. But really deep down inside, for any individual who is like me, who is in that thing, that like there is no, like, I was on the fence for many times, but for it to be like inside me, like I made a decision. Like, it's not about, like, Levi made his decision, and lots of many other people made like that. Like I as an individual have to admit to my innermost self that I want that help. And not only that, like I have to want it, but I have to step up and take the action that's needed after that to allow the help. For a person like me who's been on the streets, not wanting help from nobody, like I had to step outside myself now and allow somebody to help me. And what's that? I don't know how to live life. How about that? Like I don't know how to live a life.
Yeah, normal life to you is really GTA, man.
Yeah.
Robbing, stealing. I mean, that's what you know. You don't know how to go out there and do a 9-to-5 job.
No.
Yeah, I mean, the lifestyle you're also addicted to the high that your lifestyle. Which is a very real thing. It's crazy that I've never lived that kind of lifestyle. But you talk about it, gave me a high. Yeah, I was like, damn, that actually doesn't sound bad. And then once you progressed into your story, I was like, yeah, that doesn't seem fucking good at all.
Yeah.
The first part does, and then you start coming down off of it. Doesn't look good at all. What would you tell somebody that was that's in that lifestyle? Like, what nugget of knowledge would you drop to them and be like, dude, get out before it's too late?
I'm going to drop a couple things. The thing is that for anybody who's living in that lifestyle, who was like me, who was addicted to the streets and that lifestyle of the streets and drugs and everything that comes with it, man. Like when you're truly tired in your heart, man. Because we can be tired in our mind. Like I said, I can get a nap and a sandwich and be like, I was overreacting. But when you're truly tired of living that way, man, reach out to somebody, because everybody needs that little Eskimo. And, you don't have to go through a 12-step program. There's people, I had absolutely nothing. So like for people like me who had absolutely nothing and anything that I had left, like I didn't want it no more. I wanted deep down, I wanted to create a new life, and I had to start very fresh, but not everybody has to start fresh. Like you can, call somebody and that help is out there. And I did it all. Like I threw myself in a program, and that program introduced me to Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was in the debate of whether I'm an alcoholic or am I a drug addict. Fucking, I'm both. I'm all the above, And the thing is that they told me things like, Garet, it's up to you. And I have to put the work in. I have to invest my time into that. And not too many people want to go do that. Like I had to look at the dark truths about some of the stuffs I'd done that maybe I can't speak, or maybe I will get questions, but I had to answer to all this stuff, like of those raw feelings and the emotional barriers and of growing up too fast and raising, all this stuff that makes a play in it. But I'll say this: this is thing, and I love it, man, and I just like sharing it. And God was there on one side, and there's a fence, and they're putting this coffin into a grave, a casket into a grave, and the devil's on the other side. And God looks at his people, and he's like, "Hey, let's go." And the casket starts to open. The devil looks at his, people, and they go the other way. And this guy comes up out of the casket, and he looks in one direction, and he sees God going one way, and he looks in the other direction, and he sees the devil going the other way, and he leans back, and he's sitting there on the fence, and he looks down. He's looking at the devil, and the devil. He's like, I forgot something, and he turns around and he starts walking back over there to the casket, and that guy is sitting there on the fence, and he looks at the guy and he goes, he's like, "Oh, you can go ahead and come with me." He's like, whoa, and the guy sitting there on the fence is like, "What do you mean? Like I'm still making that decision." And the devil looked at him and said, "Well, just know that the fence belongs to me." For so many years, I sat there on that fence of not wanting to make a full commitment to a better life. And until I made that full commitment to a better life, I got those half-assed results. See, this is there's people like me die out there. Like if I was, I'm so scared now that I see it happen time and time again. That like if I was to pick up a drink, a hit or fix, or go back out to the streets, I first probably would have too much pride and ego to come back to a program that saved my life, and I would go out there to the bitter end of drugs and alcohol or prison, and I would end up having life, or I would end up dying because I would OD, and because I see it happen. And so the advice I give to somebody is that you reach out to somebody, you go to one of those programs, but make sure you're done. Deep down to your innermost self, just make sure you're done. I got loaded up to the point to jail. Like I was in jail, and once again I'm eating happy cards, and I can't. That's why none of those dates inside there are dates that I consider part of my clean date or my sobriety date, because man, I was high. But I know that the day I made the decision, like I made a full conscious decision the day that I was in that lobby, and I walked up to that lady and I said I'm ready. That's my date. March 17th, 2013 is the day I made that clear conscious decision, and everything for me started from that date. because I had to guard that date, and then I had to take clear of everything that a person like me, it wasn't like all that stuff, that all the traffic tickets, like I literally, like if you were to go to if I went to the DMV 5 months after I'd been there, thinking that I'd done all this time in prison, like I should be good, like I should be able to get my driver's license. I went to the DMV and I was a mentally retarded guy. Like they're like, dude, you cannot get a driver's license. You have to do A, B, and C. Like what? Like I there was times when I would get pulled over and baggies would I swallow bags, they would open up, and stuff like that. And like I thought I was getting away with all this stuff, No, they had me zoned out. Like I had to go to doctors. I had to go to the state of California to get approved to show them that I wasn't mentally retarded, that I am an actual human being, right? Like that. There's steps that you have to take and everything, and just don't. And I'm gonna tell my thing is too is that it's not all gonna happen overnight. 100%, man. It's not gonna happen overnight, man. And if you want it bad enough, that you can get it, man. And it doesn't matter how or where. Like I can. My steps of recovery, like my family, like I had the blessings of my dad and my stepmom. I created a relationship with my dad and had a good 8-year relationship with my dad until he passed away, and thank God for that. That little girl that I had. That 10 years of her life that or 9 years of her life, I was in prison. I see her, I wasn't present, I wasn't a father. I wasn't a dad. I might've said I was because I hung out with her. She didn't know when I was stepping out of prisons and I see I wanted to see her. But she, and it hurt. It was, but like that was like the last person. I know why it was the last person I wanted to see, because I knew I was gonna break her heart again. I knew I wasn't done, right? So you try not to get attached to stuff like that, And I rebuilt myself in a way and recapped like that, the relationship. I remember sitting there at my dad's house, and I the work that like what I want and as you will get, but you have to put that work in. So I wasn't able to, to this day, I'm just grateful for the little bits of time and pieces that everything that led up to my life today, I had to get very uncomfortable in everyday life. I had to learn your basic life skills. I'm talking basic life skills as in, I don't know what it's like to carry an ID in a wallet. I don't know how to use a phone. I don't know how to fill out a checkbook or do a job application, let alone go onto a computer or a laptop and do it and fill out stuff I had to learn all this stuff and see me being. So I look at it like, damn, I'm at this time, I'm 33 years old. And when I look at myself is that I'm 33 years old and I don't know how to live. I could be hard on myself. I could be so hard on myself that I stop wanting to learn that stuff. And once again, what happens is that as I go back out to the easier and softer way of living out there, and misery and pain and demoralization, because that's what I'm used to, right? And you don't have they tell me Gary, you don't have to, I had to sit there, it was how uncomfortable it is to this day, to be loved by somebody, that is true. People are like, oh, it's love, it's easy. No. For a person like me who was out there on the streets and running around and doing this stuff, I never allowed myself to be loved. I didn't want you to love me. I know I broke. I'm a heartbreaker. I put a boundary up and a wall up and a straight code, right? And to be able to drop now and to this day, I'm learning how to drop all these barriers and stuff, and allowing people just to love me for who I am, and not only allowing other people to it, but having a happy and healthy relationship with and a loving relationship with a person I mistreated my whole life, and that's me, man. And that's where it started. Is that Garet had to get in, and I had to get deep down, and I had to create a relationship with Garet, because man, I didn't know who I was. I have no who is I'm nobody, man. I'm a fucking nobody.
You're a drug addict.
I'm a drug addict. I'm riddled with fear. I'm a 8-year-old boy, 9-year-old boy, and that's it.
Looking for that love, man. You've never had it. You never knew what love really felt like.
I didn't get it from my family members. Like even then, to a point, but I'm 11 or 12, and they show up. Like I don't know what affection is, or what love truly is. I don't know about unconditional love that people talk about. Like that's all the stuff that in time after I start healing parts of me that have been wounded and all this lies and stuff about yourself that you carry, all this stuff that you carry with yourself, that I'm able to relieve. I'm able to get new experiences and invite this stuff into my life. That's the work, man. That's the work. So I can be happy and whole once again. Because if I'm a happy, whole, and loving human being, man, you attract that. And at the end of the day, what is it that an addict to this day, what is it that we really want? Whether I'm today, now, or that person back then, I just wanted to be loved and accepted, right? I did a lot of that stuff back in the day because those men and those gang members and me into that stuff, they gave me that love and affection that I didn't have, and in a way that showed, and it might have been wrong, right? That it might have been, or maybe I took it out of context and made it all wrong. But today, what is it that to love and that the love, we want to be loved. It's easy to, I can love you, I can love other people, my kids, and I love it. But it's Garet willing and able to be loved as an individual self. You don't know what's the right way of being loved when you've never been loved the right way. Correct. When you've never been cherished as a child the right way. When you've never been held and felt that affection the right way. You don't know what love is. You don't know what that is. You don't know. You don't know how to react. So you hung on to anybody who didn't fucking just abuse your mom. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's where you're like, well, hey, I think this is what love is. Somebody who's not going to be abusing my mom. Yeah. From the first drug dealer to the gang that accepted you. Yeah. Because that's what you're searching for, man. I was searching for this thing inside me that they filled it, and what happens is there later is that I filled that void in with the drugs and alcohol, and that's it, and that sort of, as much as I want to say I use that for the love, and that's what it took me. It sort of buried it deeper and deeper and deeper, man, and I'm just a blank soul, right? I'm soulless, I'm heartless, I'm all that stuff, because a lot of times too is that we share that with, it's part of life. You share that love and affection with the wrong people, and it destroys you, your image, your ego, or whatever it is, and it destroys you. And so then what happens is that you just lock it up and you throw it away, and you don't want to experience that stuff anymore. Right? If you show any kind of affection or love towards me, I'm a runner. Like I'm not going to accept it. Like, I'm not. Like, I don't want it. A kid, like, it's cool. Like my kid, the surface love, right? Like, a hug and affect. We buy you stuff. Like, that's cool. But that to be able to just sit still and a full acceptance of everything. Just love it right then and now. You know what I'm saying? Is where we're, you know?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We all want to be loved. We all want to have that partner right there by us, and that has that just kind of unconditional love, man.
Yeah.
You know, stick with us thick and thin, man. We all do.
Amen.
You know, dude, Garet, you, my friend, are a badass, man. From what you have gone through as a kid, to abuse after abuse, watching your mom get abused, to finding that what you thought was love in a drug dealer, into the gangs that indoctrinated you into your lifestyle, you know, of grand theft, auto, in and out of prisons. You were just destined to a life on the streets. You were most likely going to die. Life on the streets. But it was that time in that facility that you sat there and saw your friend Levi and said, nope, not today. I am fucking ready.
Yeah.
Take me. I am ready. I am ready to open up. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. And you have 10 years of sobriety.
Yeah, I have 10 years of sobriety now. My life started, I'll tell you where my life started. I stayed in the treatment center. Levi shortly left. He didn't stay with me. I love him to death, but no, he wasn't his time, you know. And but I stayed. I started off getting me I got me a job through an agency. $5 an hour job. I was grateful to get me but you gotta say, I figured for my biggest pay number for many years was 36 cents. And I got me a job through agency making like $4.75 an hour. And I bought my first, I couldn't drive for my first 2.5 years. So I made a commitment to myself that I would get a driver's license. And I bought me a beach cruiser. I started, the list is long, and I started to repair. And it's first of all, you get this list of stuff that, you know, that we keep on just adding more stuff to this list. And I stopped. I made that list, and so I had lots of community service and classes and just, you know, and parole, high control parole, and all this stuff that I was able to while I was in this treatment center. That it you know, if my sole purpose was just to have that $4 an hour job to teach me some kind of a structured life of what it was like to wake up, go to work, right, happily, you know, bring a lunch to work. I rode a bike. I walked or rode a bike. You know, I walked, and then I got me that, you know, that Debo's bicycle, and I rode that, you know, and I rode it happily. I wasn't mad about it. I rode that same bike to my DUI classes, and I'll tell you, there was a couple cute girls there, so I parked it down the street and locked it up, and then walked over there like I wasn't on a bike, you know.
Oh shit, dude! You're trying to save your game, huh?
And that's ironic that is. Like I'm in a DUI class, you know, for a driver's license, you know, but I'm riding a bike. Nobody there has a goddamn license, you know what I'm saying? But no,
that's
I'll
funny,
tell you,
man.
As I sat there one time, I rode that bike. As the first time I ever went to a Starbucks. I didn't know nothing about Starbucks or anything like that. I still didn't have a phone. I didn't really need one, you know. But I go to Starbucks and I just order a regular coffee. I was sitting out there one time and I was drinking that coffee before I went to my class. And I see Levi. And Levi is back in his disease again, man. He's full-fledged in the disease, and it's like a mirage walking across this parking lot at me as I'm sitting outside, because I'm just happy to be at life, drinking a cup of coffee at a coffee shop outside. I'm in Whittier. And Levi comes up to me and he's full-fledged in the disease again. And many times I see, a couple more times I see Levi in the same scenario, just in different places. But Levi asked me for a couple bucks, and we all know what that couple bucks is, that he needed to get another bottle and drink because that disease was calling him. I'm not one to deny a person. Like if a person thinks that he needs to get loaded and drink, then sometimes it's better that we help that person get to that bottom faster. And I helped him, and I talked to him, and he'd tell me all of his conspiracy theories and stuff that he had going on, and all the people that were after him, and all that good stuff. And that was exactly how the type of person I was when I was out there in that disease, And I go to that class, and I got those DUI classes, and I started doing. I started riding my bike to programs, and I got me commitments at these meetings, and the most important thing is I got me a sponsor, and the sponsor started taking me through the book, and he passed something on to me. And what he passed on to me was nothing that says that he passed on as an example of what it was for he had like 15 years, and he passed on the greatest thing a man can pass on, and that's an example. And that's the same thing I do to this day, is I pass on my example to many other men of what I do, what I have done, and what I do today to keep sober and to stay sober. And I tell you, those relationships with my dad, I had the greatest, most loving and affection 8 years, and don't think it wasn't easy. It's not easy for me to a family that I was away from for 20 something years that and they might not understand. They don't, they're not an addict like me. Like our family members don't understand. Like, they don't understand like how that disease of the alcohol or the drugs, and how strong that hold is on a person, to where when I say I need it, like just imagine nowadays of someone just taking that phone away from you, and how like and you're like and how much you're going to obsess over that all day long. That's all you're going to think. That's how it was for me and the drugs and stuff like that. But going back to the family, like it was like the only thing that really, some families don't get amended, and sometimes you don't get to go back, and sometimes that kid don't want to talk to you, or sometimes that family, like there's stuff that family doesn't want to talk to you. The kid don't want to, you don't get them back, and that's the things that you have to live in acceptance about. I was unfortunate enough that I was able to go spend time with the family that I walked away from. I was able to create a new family with them, and I was able to take my daughter with me and go over there and experience all that life with them. And I got to go to every I got to do the father-daughter dances and dances and all that stuff. I got to go to Disneyland. I got to do life with my daughter, man. Because I was present. I was an accountable human being. I showed up in her life when asked, and we made plans together. Because I learned all that stuff here from other men. Just tell me, like they had to tell me, like, they had stupid things, like, well, did you ask? Damn, no, I didn't. Like, no, I didn't. Well, like, if, did you ask him, or did you initiate? Did you ask him, to make plans, or enjoy, like, those are things like people just don't know that you want to come, but you have to, I had to learn how to stop. I'm not one, I moved in silence, and I didn't like talking, because I don't like first of all, I had no teeth. I had a real bad speech impediment. Like I never smiled. I look like one of those people. I don't like my skin, my color, my skin, my arm. I was a disgrace. Like I never could take that off of me, and so I refused to talk. And then and a lot of times, like, drugs would be so good, like I couldn't talk, right? You know, so I didn't talk, right? Yes, let's go, or just do, and I had to learn all that stuff slowly and surely. And I tell you, my thing is my mom, and as I pursued on my journey of recovery in this treatment center and stuff like this, and I built these relationships back up with my family members that I got. My mom was always there for me in every prison term. However she did it, I fought a case. I went back and forth and fought it. She brought my daughter to see me, and she tell me things, hard truths that I didn't understand. Like, this little girl's gonna love you no matter what. But once again, that goes back to Garet doesn't know what love and that feeling of someone, that unconditional love of a child to a parent. You don't understand that, man. And my mom would tell me, this little girl loves you no matter what. Just as my mom loved her son no matter what I did. Front page of the newspaper, or in that small section, of lights and sirens, over and over again. Garet Mclendon picked up again on a VCP feed, whatever, but she always loved me. And I'm gonna tell you, that hit different when my mom was in the hospital, and I went there, and I have another couple kids now, and my daughter's older, and I love my daughter dearly. Like, she's like daddy's little girl, and she just made my Father's Day so good this year. And but I was there with my mom, and that example that I was sober, I always think that example translated into my mom. And she always seemed sober when I was there. And that look on her eyes, that one day I was at the hospital, and I'm picking her up, and my kid ran out the door, and I turn around and I look back, and I see her peeking out because my mom, you gotta remember that same thing that I talked about with me, with that silence and that love, my mom was there too. But I tell you, when I picked up my son and I turned around and looked back at that doorway to where my mom was, and she's looking down the hallway at me, and our eyes met. So that's all a person like me needed, because it was nothing that the person ever said or did for me, but it was when she looked at me the way she did and saw me for who I was that day. She knew I was on a different path. And that love, and all that love and misunderstanding that we had all do, maybe people go to therapists and trauma, it's just life, man. Like, you can either hold on to all that stuff, or you can let it all go and just focus on now. And I choose to focus on now, and I have the greatest relationship with my mom. And she passed away a year after my dad. And man, that's just, I didn't drink or use or I didn't, the program worked so good in my life that I didn't even think about putting a drink, hit or fix inside my system, man. I that's how much I recovered. I put so much work into helping others and giving back and vigorously working a program of recovery. And creating that relationship with God and a higher power. Is that I used to think that, damn, when that something happens to my mom, that was like a reservation of mine. I used to think that that was that breaking point. Like, I don't know, but 100% when my dad died or when my mom died, or those are some big things that happened that changed the person. Any person that I believe that any person that walks through that stuff and faces it and goes through it, it changes a person. And I couldn't have done it without my peers, and I was surrounded with the love from people that I don't know, like I go around, I do a lot of things out of love, because maybe I missed so much love my whole life that's my movement now, is love and kindness. And
that's what makes you a badass, Garet, because you were on the fence. Mm-hmm. And you kicked the fucking devil off and jumped on the other side and said, fuck you, man, you're not coming back. And you found the love. And you found what your purpose is, man, is helping other people in their sobriety.
Amen.
Helping people off of that fence and pulling them to that side and being there and showing them love. Dude, that's what makes you a badass, Garet. I want to thank you so much for coming on our show, man, and telling your heroic story. It is really a hard story to tell. And I know it's going to have the impact on some other people. So if you have problems with addiction, please check us out below. We got links that will help you to some hotlines. Please go check it out. Hit the subscribe, like, and share buttons. Again, if you know somebody struggling with addiction, reach out to them, call them, because you never know if you're going to be that resource for them. Garet, again, thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man. It's been a blessing to be able to come here on this show and have a cup of coffee. I hope if you have coffee that I get a bag of your coffee so I could try that badass stuff and be able to drink it with somebody else as I'm helping other people, man. Because I like to drink coffee and help people.
Absolutely. So where can people find you? What are you doing these days? Where are you at?
These days, I'll tell you what my life is in these days. I live in Santa Clarita. My name is Garet Mclendon. It's 1 R or 1 T, on Garet and Mclendon and MCLENDON. On Instagram and Facebook. And what I do these days is that I work my butt off. We all try to succeed in a level of working and having a small business. And I ride motorcycles and surf, man. Like it's that. I'm an extremist, man. I love the rush still. So whether I'm jumping off cliffs, whitewater, surfing a big wave, or on my bike, or I enjoy my life today. And you can find me. I go around. I love speaking and carrying a message of depth and weight to members of recovery. And I know that it's not just my story, but it's somebody's story out there that can bring somebody out of the depths of hell.
Absolutely. So you know where to find him. Go check him out. If you need somewhere else to have or some another connection and another resource, he's out there. He's on the gram. He's on Facebook. Dude, thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
Thank you for tuning in to Coffee Conversations, a Badasses podcast. If you like what we're doing, go to our Patreon. Show some support. We have exclusive content and giveaways over there. And please, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the content that we're putting out. Until next time.